All right, guys, I got two articles for you I want to show you today about Gavin Newsom lying about this fire money. Check it out.
Say they are still waiting for help they were promised more than a year after the devastating Eaton fire. Now, as Governor Gavin Newsom pushes a new wildfire recovery proposal in his state budget, survivors say they are fed up with delays and they're demanding answers about billions in relief money.
Our community needs serious support from the state that claims to protect us.
LA fire victims are begging California to help them rebuild, as Governor Newsom is hoping legislators will approve his budget. Part of the nearly $350 billion budget proposes a $100 million fund to help wildfire victims afford loans to rebuild their homes. That's in addition to the $2.5 billion relief money he promised wildfire victims, saying this last January.
This money will be made available immediately. We want to get these dollars out in real time, so there's no anxiety and stress associated with that.
15 months later, Eaton fire victims say it has been nothing but anxiety and stress as they plan another trip to Sacramento to ask what happened to the money.
In February of this year, we saw state records that prove there was around over $800 million available in February. So this.
I'm going to show you guys what happened to that 2.5 million on the next little segment I got for you guys. You watch. Check it.
State has been lying to our community. Governor Newsom has been lying to our community.
The relief package earmarked funds for the state's disaster response efforts, including evacuations and sheltering survivors. But today in Altadena, survivors say they're hitting a dead end and going broke trying to survive.
We have our elderly neighbors who are essentially homeless, couch surfing, or living in very expensive Airbnbs they cannot afford, living off of Social Security with zero affordable housing available.
Governor Newsom says the $100 million proposed would pay back lenders if borrowers default while rebuilding, or help homeowners to buy down interest rates during construction.
The gap now, the issue in Los Angeles, is really around that gap between what insurance is paying, more accountability there, and costs. Costs of construction obviously have gone up because of Trump and Trumpism, and a lot of people with permits, but they're not moving yet because of that gap. We believe this can substantially help them.
Eaton fire survivors say the state is not listening to their needs.
They've been coming up with their own strategies that are creating new financial products.
Meanwhile, County Supervisor Barger says she is hopeful the budget includes a sustained commitment. She says she will continue to advocate for victims. We've reached out to the governor's office for reaction to the news conference from survivors today and have yet to hear back.
And we won't hear back because that's what Gavin Newsom does. But these people, they're all going to vote Democrat anyways. It's going to be the same thing. So I don't know why they're crying. Check out, this is what happens to the $2.5 billion fund that he had. Check this out.
It has been nearly a year and a half since the LA wildfires raced through the Palisades and Altadena, destroying homes and neighborhoods. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Carolyn Johnson.
And I'm Robert Kovacic. Donations poured in to help those who lost everything. Governor Newsom promised billions of dollars to help survivors, but NBC4 Investigates has traced some of the spending, and it wound up in places you may not expect.
Investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us now from the newsroom with more on what happened to all that money. Eric.
Hi, Carolyn and Robert. Well, you may remember seeing Governor Newsom and a bunch of local leaders out in Pasadena in the days after the Eaton and Palisades fires, pledging a $2.5 billion relief package for fire victims. Well, now we know a lot more about all of that money, that a lot of it hasn't been used, and the portion that was distributed actually sent very little directly to fire victims. Instead, much of the spending circulated through state agencies for their fire-related work, and we learned some of the money was even diverted to pay for crowd control in last summer's protests against immigration enforcement. This is where nearly $14 million of the state's relief money for the victims of the Palisades and Eaton fires was spent. Overtime for CHP officers sent to demonstrations in downtown LA where protesters marched against immigration enforcement operations. According to this memo, the Department of Finance in June 2025 used some of the fire money for law enforcement unrelated to the fires, but diverting the relief money for crowd control was pre-authorized by state lawmakers.
I definitely would not want funds directed to anywhere but in the hands of the survivors who've lost everything.
Zaire Calvin has been working to help the victims of the Eaton fire that claimed the life of his sister and destroyed his family's homes.
You're looking at my lot, plural, which we had 5 homes on, lost so much. I've been an advocate since the fires, fighting for my community, rebuild everything Altadena. I had no idea $2.5 billion was designated for fire victims.
Governor Newsom announced the relief fund near the Eaton fire burn zone in the days after the fires, and fire victims told us back then they needed the help.
People who live in Altadena are hoping this is the beginning of more aid and more resources.
I would say thank you, obviously, right? Because we need it. But we need more.
The bill the governor flashed at that news conference was AB X14, co-authored by Encino Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel. It directed the emergency money to protect health, protect the safety of persons or property, and expedite recovery. NBC4 Investigates has found that much of the $605 million spent from the fund went right back to state agencies. The latest figure from the state finance department shows about 75% of the relief money promised was never released by the state.
I mean, $2.5 billion is a whole hell of a lot of money. And, you know, off the top of my head, I was like, no, I don't remember that at all.
Nicole Vasquez is a community advocate in Altadena, helping fire survivors while also being one herself. We asked her if she remembered any fire messaging from state health officials.
Do you feel like you got information from the state health department?
From the state health department? I don't remember getting anything from them.
That's because the spending records show it received $13 million from the relief fund. The department says it used some for air monitoring or testing and spent some making YouTube videos like this one.
Cleaning soot, ash, and smoke damage from your home after a wildfire.
It was posted 9 months after the fires. It's been viewed 181 times.
My name is Dr. Anish Mahajan.
For comparison, LA County's Department of Health produced its own videos in English and Spanish within a month of the fires. Our investigation found that a portion of the fire relief fund did benefit some employers and employees directly and provided some tax relief to homeowners. The California Department of Economic Opportunity used $3 million from the relief money to help LA County small business owners and their employees. And $121 million went to LA County for temporary tax relief as property tax payments were delayed for homes destroyed in the fires. But there were few indications that individual fire victims received direct aid.
100% there should be an expectation of direct help to everyone who lost everything in Altadena, including the 19 people who lost lives, to make sure that there's funding to bridge the gaps.
The LA City and LA County departments, fire departments received about $37 million in total from this fund to cover the costs of fighting the Palisades and Eaton fires. But there are major unanswered questions here about why more of this money hasn't reached fire victims. Governor Newsom's office declined our repeated requests for interviews, but they sent a statement late today. They said the money could only be used for projects that would later be reimbursed by FEMA. But we couldn't find language in the bill that authorized this relief fund that said anything about FEMA, and Newsom even said on social media last year there were no strings attached to the use of this money. Back to you.
All right, Eric. walk us through how you traced all this money, and will we learn more about what hasn't yet been allocated?
Yeah, so our producers and researchers and me, we've been working on this for months. In fact, we were close to reporting the story earlier this year, but we wanted to wait until we had the state's financial documents in hand, which, by the way, you can read at nbcla.com. The State Department of Finance is keeping track of all of the expenditures, and after a lot of prodding, turned over some of the records a couple of months ago. They've updated us, so we know the amount spent as of this week is about $605 million, and the department has promised another account statement in June, so we should know more. But one question we're still trying to get answered is what's going to happen to any of the unspent money, whether it could be returned to the state's general fund after a period of time, or if it will be preserved in place and given out as needs arise.
All right, Eric, thank you. Great work.
You got it.
So what do you guys think? He's closing his budget gap with all of that money. So fire victims, you're not going to get any help. You're not going to get any money. It's sad but funny because we're still going to vote for these guys. So just take it in stride. I'd like to thank you for watching this. Hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.